Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. My name is Juma Dennis Orengo, and I'm so pleased to catch up with you once again for the second last edition of Roan Academy 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations for coming this far. When we began these sessions 5 months ago, nobody knew we would come to this tail end, and I just want to encourage each and every one of you to continue persisting and enduring for the sake of the Roans. Because of you, the Roans will not slide or fade into silence. Congratulations. After this class, we have just one more to go, and we have to finish strong for the sake of the Roans. Before we begin our today's module, I want to pass across few announcements. And since the last academy, we have gone through or we have held so many events, and I want to thank those who showed up for the Rowan Nyatiti Festival at Ulaweyapate Primary School. The event was well attended and the message was passed, and we managed to form several Rowan satellite committees around that area. On 4th November also, 2nd November, we had our annual Rowan soccer tournament where more than 3,000 community members attended. Thank you so much for those who showed up and those who supported this initiative. And also the first part of our Rowan Awareness East Africa walk is already uploaded on YouTube. Those who have not been able to be part of these awareness walks, kindly go to YouTube, watch and learn, and you can share with others so that they can also get to enjoy and learn from these academy from these walks. And also, I want to announce that we have 4 Rowan poaching counseling sessions scheduled for this year. There were 5. The first one happened yesterday. So kindly go through our social media handle pages and learn and get the dates where we shall be conducting Rowan poaching counseling sessions. These sessions are very, very important. So we have more sessions so that before we end the year 2025. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome now to these academy sessions for today, where today we are going to study and learn about sustainable land use and restoration. And our main focus is balancing human development with wildlife needs. And before even this session, we have gone through other 4 modules. We've learned ecology and habitat of the Rowan, understanding the species, its environment, and the ecosystem role, the role it plays in the ecosystem. We've gone through threats and challenges to Rowan survival, conservation laws and policies, community engagement in conservation. And so today we are learning about sustainable land use and restoration, where we are focusing on human development and wildlife needs. So, ladies and gentlemen, uh, before we tackle this topic, we need to learn what is the Rowan antelope conservation status. And this is something that we've been talking about all through these academy sessions, that Rowans used to be very vibrant animals across East Africa. And today, it is very, very unfortunate that in Kenya, the Rowans are only available or found within a small patch within our republic, and that is in Ruma National Park, in Kamato area, in Homa Bay County. So nowhere else in this country will you be able to find the Rowans, and that is also the same case with across East Africa nations. And that's why this year we've been conducting Rowan Awareness Walk, East Africa Rowan Awareness Walk, so that we can create Rowan awareness across East African nations of Kenya and Uganda and Tanzania. And that is basically been informed that the Rowans are facing the threat of extinction across East Africa, and we have to take action before they run into extinction. And what is the ecological importance of saving the Rowan antelope? And this is a question so many people have asked, that why are you so much concerned with the Rowans? Why are you putting so much effort, so much resources in conserving the Roans. So the Roan antelope is very important in balancing our ecological act. Remember, this is an herbivorous surviving on grasslands. And also within the wildlife habitats, there are other animals like lions, cheetahs, leopards who feed on the roans, and they help maintaining the ecological balance. So if the roans are not there, then the ecological balance, the food web is not going to be complete. And so we have to ensure that the roans are always alive and kicking. And the primary threats to the Roans, as we've always discussed, include habitat loss, fragmentation of land. The Roans contact diseases that are spread by wildlife. Then there is also scramble for grazing water. That's why we've been establishing water ponds. And sometimes because of this fragmentation, you find the Roans lack grass because of overgrazing by wildlife. So they come and, graze on people's farms, and this causes wildlife human conflict. And also there is poaching, there is also wildlife trafficking. For people believe that if they go to hotels, especially posh hotels, they can't live without eating the raw meat. So those are basically some of the threats to Rowan wildlife, Rowan threats to Rowans and their survival. And also we have to get to understand the human wildlife conflict, as I've explained, due to land fragmentation, due to polluted waters and rivers. So the Rowans tend to come out of their uh, habitat to go and graze where humans believe this is my farm, this is where I graze my animals, so they get killed. Or they go to scramble for water, clean water, because they leave waters that have been polluted, so they go to scramble with clean water. So people feel that this is a threat to their livestock. The Rowans are taking much water, so they end up killing the Rowans, and that is where wildlife conflict, human wildlife conflict emanate from. Then another threat that we have to understand when discussing about sustainable land use is competing land use demands. For example, now the populations have really expanded in our nation, and arable land, the lands where the Rowans should graze, now people are using them for farming, people are using them for farming, people are using them for other land use. So these habitats have really shrunk into dangerous levels, and the Rowans do not have anywhere to survive. And also another thing is infrastructural development. We've seen in Aberdares where we were actually so much mad with the government that they were constructing a road inside a forest, a road basically going to nowhere. And we've seen even when government wanted to construct a hotel and a tourism training hotel inside Roma, we said no, you can't come and construct a hotel inside Roma. So we had to convince the government and negotiate peacefully that this is a good project, it will empower young people, but why can't you just construct it outside Ruma National Park so that it doesn't eat on already shrinking Rowan habitats? And the government saw the sense, and now this tourism and a training school is being constructed far away from the national park, not far away, but outside the national park habitat. And those are some of the competing land use demands: agriculture expansion, livestock grazing, human settlements, and we've also said affordable housing can't be constructed within the Rowan's habitat. So they are being constructed in urban centers, even in interior villages. And there's something called principles of land use restoration and landscape level planning that integrates both human and wildlife needs. And we can't deny the fact that population keep on increasing, and land will always be constant. Land will not increase. But however much we have that in thought, we have now to employ what is called planning that integrates both human and wildlife needs. And how do we do this? We don't grab every land. We come up with integrations. We practice what is called zero grazing of our livestock, you see? And we also come up and follow strict urban planning processes or strict planning processes. We don't just build everywhere. We say this is area where we've set aside for housing development. This is the areas we've set aside for agriculture, and this is wildlife protected zones. Then we have to also be alive to the fact that we have to practice ecosystem based approaches that maintain ecological processes while supporting human resources. As you know, climate change has really affected our wildlife. We have experienced serious drought, which has killed so many wildlife, so many animals in our parks, in our game reserves. We have experienced excessive flooding. So even as we come to practice, or even as we come to improve infrastructure, as we come to develop, we have to make sure that we are alive to the fact that any development does not become a threat to climate change. So we have to practice eco-friendly development, and that's why we say no development should result into cutting down of indigenous trees. No development should result into pollution of rivers. No development should result into pollution of lakes, because this is where the wildlife habitat and the Roans surviving. So at all times we have to practice eco-friendly development. Then we have to discuss practical restoration strategies, habitat restoration techniques, including grassland management, as I have said, through controlled burning and rotational grazing. So we have to be very keen and very intentional in setting aside that this is an area purely for grassland management for the Roans. Few weeks ago, Francis Atwoli, the Kotu Secretary General, said Nairobi National Park is occupying a very large piece of land in within Nairobi city, and it's the only capital park within a city. So it should be taken away, should be done away with, and that land should be set aside for people living. And we said, no, you can't interfere with nature. We found the animals living in that part of the country, that part of the city. You can't interfere with nature. So we don't deliberately come to burn the grassland so that we chase the animals away. We don't come to deliberately poison the animals, like we've seen lions dying as a result of poisoning. And in other areas, we do intentional rotational grazing to avoid wildlife human conflict, and also respecting wildlife corridors establishment and maintenance of fragmented habitats. And these fragmented habitats have been caused by deforestation. These fragmented habitats have been caused by forest grabbing and also illegal encroachment, where people come to conduct farming inside the forests and inside wildlife corridors that are strictly protected. And we have also to be very keen on water resource management that serves both communities and wildlife populations. So this water resource management is very key, because both humans and wildlife cannot survive without water. And that is why we say do not avoid polluting water resources, do not pollute lakes, do not pollute rivers, and also use uh, also present methods of controlling flooding, controlling soil erosion, and that, so that these waters can always be safe for both wildlife habitats and for humans. And also describe in integrated land use methods. Make sure that community-based conservation approaches, where local people have become steward of wildlife, ensure that you don't come as this is now a point that I'm addressing to conservation activists or lovers of nature, that whenever we are coming to now emancipate community members, let us not assume that they don't know anything. Let us not assume that we are coming to teach them, that we are coming to tell them what we know. And most times, what we know is always knowledge derived on textbooks. So when we come to engage community members, let us have open mind to be ready to listen to them, because they have so much. They have their own community-based conservation approaches, where they are stewards of wildlife. And I want to give you an example that originated from these academies, where we were engaging community members, we were teaching them, and we told them, come up with initiatives that you'll be doing to promote wildlife conservation, especially being biased on the Roans. And that is how Roan satellite committees were born. And now we have established more than 30 Roan satellite committees. And also that is how Half Time for Roan campaign was born. And right now, beginning with the last Saturday, where Manchester United was playing Tottenham Hotspurs, we managed to form another Rowan halftime uh, club at Highway Football Club. These were initiatives that were born by community members themselves out of these academies. So always involve community members, and that is the only way you can come up with a particular integrated land use models that will favor both the Rowans and the humans. Then sustainable livestock management practices. We should always practice sustainable livestock management practices, which include, as I mentioned earlier, strategic grazing zones, improved veterinary care on livestock so that they don't spread diseases like foot and mouth disease to the Rowans, and also wildlife friendly farming techniques. Don't use chemicals, especially don't use organic chemicals that will affect the Rowans, and will lead, if they eat water that when it rains and the rains flood and go to the Rowans habitats, then they drink this water or eat grass that has been polluted by these chemicals, then they die. So use friendly farming techniques. Then we also have to tell community members about ecotourism that provides economic alternatives. And this yesterday we were training people on how to, not training people, but while we were conducting Rowan poaching counseling sessions, some of the techniques that we were using, we were sharing with those who came, was alternative income generating activities apart from poaching, and ecotourism was one of them. Telling people only about the Rowans, how the Rowans should be saved, the history of the Rowans is able to give people employment. And right now in Roma National Park, so many people are employed as guides, so many people are employed as drivers, so many people are employed in the hotels nearby. So ecotourism pays a lot. And imagine if we have to kill all the Rowans, all this infrastructure will go away. Government is now bringing tourism school at Roma because of the Roans. And we have very many national parks and game reserves in the country. But why is Roma National Park standing out? It's standing out because of the Rowan. It's known as the official home of the Rowans. Ladies and gentlemen, let us teach community members about these initiatives, about so many deep opportunities in ecotourism, so that they know that poaching and wildlife trafficking only earns you very little minute and it's illegal. But if investing in the broad ecotourism sector earns you so much, brings you so much connections, so much experience, so much knowledge, and so much money, and it's legal. It's legal. Government will not be on your neck that you are conducting illegal business. Then We have also, as we've mentioned in other past academy modules on policy and governance frameworks, we have to continue teaching people on how do you approach wildlife zones, the policies, wildlife laws, and compensation schemes for wildlife conflict. If we compensate dearly and on time those who've been affected by wildlife conflict, then they will always embrace protecting the wildlife. But if we don't, then they'll see wildlife, the Roans, as their enemies, and they'll always be focused to kill and eliminate them. Then enforcement challenges in protected areas and community lands must also be addressed. The fact remains that we have very few wardens. We have very few wardens protecting these areas, and that's why we are forming Rowan satellite committees so that they can help in enforcement. That's why we are doing Rowan poaching counseling. You can't take all the poachers to court, and so we have to conduct counseling for them and convert them into wardens who will always help the KWS wardens in maintaining guard, in protecting our wildlife. And we have so many other initiatives that community members themselves have come up with in helping in enforcement challenges in protected Rowan areas. And also stakeholder engagement and community participation. Always remember that community members must be involved in this conservation journey from the start to the end. We don't just sit in boardrooms and come up and tell community members that this is what we've discussed, now we are going. No, always involve community members from the start to the end. If we want to plant trees, if we want to do any project in those conservation areas, we involve them, or else we'll do that, go back to Nairobi and leave them and say, no, those people have gone, we just attended those meetings to get allowances. So emphasize the importance of involving local communities in decision making from the planning stage. Another thing is all the activists, all the environmental activists, all the lovers of the Rwans, we must strengthen on sustainable capacity building and also resource mobilization, because resource is a very key factor, and most times this conservation journey will not be sustainable without resources. And also creating benefit sharing. I want us to get this point clearly. Creating benefit sharing mechanisms that ensure communities gain from conservation. They have to know the benefits of conservation. That's just as I was highlighting about the ecotourism. Creating benefit sharing mechanisms. Don't just let government take everything from taxes, but a certain percentage must always come back. Right now, with the tourism school at Omabe, remember how many opportunities are going to be created from that. People within the local Kamato area, they will be the chefs, they will be the cleaners, they will, if they have relevant knowledge to train, they will be the trainers, they will be the security men, drivers, their children will come to that college. You see the ripple effect. They have to know the importance of these sharing communities. They have to gain from this conservation. That is why when finally we tell them, now you have to protect the Rwans, they will take the journey seriously. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, Rwan conservation is achievable. Very, very much achievable, as we've always explained in other parts. And I can tell you, when we began this journey, there were less than 50 Rwans. And right now in Ruma National Park, we have almost 500 Rwans. The population has doubled. And right now we expect more by end of next year. By end of next year, June, we expect the populations to get to about 700. So this is a long-term commitment. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. So don't give up. It needs long-term commitment, adaptive approaches, and genuine stakeholder engagement. I want to underline genuine stakeholder engagement, beginning with community members, Kenya Wildlife Service, government itself, and also the private sector. So thank you very much. And I would like to say it is very much possible for sustainable land use and restoration. So let us not overgraze. Let us respect the wildlife corridors before we involve any infrastructural project or human development or agriculture. Let us conduct public participations. Let us make sure that any development that we do or planning to conduct respects environmental policies and laws so that we don't contribute to climate change. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and hope to see you in our last Roan Academy module. And thank you so much for this far that you've endured for the sake of conserving and preserving the Roan antelope. Thank you so much.